What have I ever done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? If you had come to me in friendship, then the scum who ruined the film industry would be suffering this very day. And if by chance an honest person like yourself would make enemies, then they would be my enemies. And once you are a part of the Real Shift family, then they will fear you. Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
So this year marks the 50-year anniversary of what I believe is the greatest film ever made. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Francis Ford Coppola's crime epic, The Godfather. The organized crime film to end all organized crime films. The film that set the bar so high that every film that came out after it strives to replicate its impact and usually fails miserably at doing so.
No shit.
The Godfather is the perfect combination of events and people converging together and creating something special. We have a groundbreaking novel as well as the script written by Mario Puzo. We have a young up-and-coming director who ends up being a visionary in Francis Ford Coppola. We have an acting legend who, despite his difficult nature, always brought a certain level of prestige to any film he was involved with, that being Marlon Brando. And of course we had a newcomer in the acting category who would go on to become a legend of his own in Al Pacino.
Because she got a great ass!
Who defied the odds as well as studio backlash to give one of the greatest performances in cinematic history. The Godfather is quite literally a cinematic perfect storm. Everything about this movie just draws you into its world. From its distinctive score to the lighting to the camera work. Everything about it was meticulously planned and executed at the highest level. When I sat down to watch this movie for the 100th time, I thought to myself, what could I possibly say about The Godfather that hasn't been said already?
I'm having trouble.
This movie has been analyzed and reanalyzed for the last 50 years. But then I thought to myself, a great movie such as this always has something more to offer, no matter how many times you watch it. So I sat down and watched The Godfather from a critical standpoint for the first time ever, because I've always watched it more as a fan than anything. And let me just say, even from a critical standpoint, this movie is fucking brilliant.
I like it a lot.
The thing that jumped out most to me this time around, and what I'm going to focus on in this review, is the characters. I swear to you, every single character in this movie, from Paulie the driver to Don Vito himself, has some kind of character building or defining moment in the film. And most of these moments occur in the setup of the film, that being the wedding scene in the first act. We know who Vito Corleone is immediately as a person, just after his first couple interactions with other characters. We know what's important to him, one being respect. As per his conversation with the man who only wants his help after he was refused help by the police. Loyalty. He immediately helps Johnny Fontaine when he is having a problem with a Hollywood mogul. Honor. He's not just going to kill someone because someone asked him to. Family is clearly very important to him, as per his refusal to take the family picture without Michael. And even beyond the wedding scene, the way he justifies his unwillingness to get into the drug business to Sollozzo. This man always knows what's best for his situation and his family. He even calls for peace after his own son is murdered. He's constantly being the bigger man and always thinking about business. All of this, of course, is in conflict with who his son Sonny is as a person. In fact, I would say Sonny is essentially the anti-Vito of this movie. He's shown to be not really connected with his wife or family. He puts his own pride or females over the family business at times. And he's usually shown to be hot-headed as opposed to Vito's more calm demeanor. He speaks when he should listen. All of this leads us to the conclusion that he would not make a very good Don. And all of this also leads to his inevitable death.
You gotta get up close like this, and bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
So the wheels are set in motion very early in The Godfather, and we can kind of see where all these characters are heading before they get there. And then you have Michael, whose reluctance to get involved with the family business actually makes him the best candidate to be Vito's successor. Michael is kind of forced into this life, and because of his intelligence and his calculating nature, he adapts to it very quickly. He's able to think things through, to process the information, think of the best solution, and then execute a plan. And all of this is the mark of a true leader. The way they show him getting out of the hospital situation, or how he suggests using their newspaper connections to plant a story about the police captain that he will eventually murder. That's Michael Corleone. He's calculated like his father, he's always thinking ahead. But unlike his father, I actually find his character to be much colder. And we see this with his interactions with Kate, as well as how he is very dismissive of Tom sometimes.
It's not personal, son. It's strictly business.
And this is why Michael becomes the undisputed Don. He follows his father's final advice about watching out for a traitor, and this leads to Michael in the most unforgiving way. He eliminates all of his enemies by the end of the film. These characters, as well as all of the other memorable side characters in this movie, are all pieces of a very big puzzle. A masterpiece that tells the story of one family's journey in organized crime in a very romanticized way. This movie changed the face of cinema forever, and made people take notice and realize that you can tell somewhat familiar stories in new and creative ways. And that's all credited to the vision of both Mario Puzo and Francis Ford Coppola. If you haven't seen The Godfather yet, then I really don't know what you're waiting for, but this movie is more than deserving of its own rating. That's why I'm going to give it the first ever masterpiece.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
So because this movie is so important to me, I wanted to give you a little bit more bonus coverage on The Godfather. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than my usual videos.
Sometimes men take matters into their own hands.
And what exactly am I going to talk about? Well, I went on Rotten Tomatoes and I saw that The Godfather sits at a 97%, which means that on that garbage tier website, there's at least a few people who gave The Godfather a rotten rating.
That's right, it stinks!
This might just be the easiest edition of Film Criticism is Dead that I've ever done. The first poor review comes from Arthur Schlesinger of Vogue. He says, quote, "An overblown, pretentious, slow, and ultimately 3-hour quasi-epic." Quasi-epic? How the fuck does this guy even have a job? Well, he does only have 4 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, so with any luck, Vogue realized that he probably shouldn't be reviewing movies and just made him do something else.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
The next review comes from Robert Hatch of The Nation. He says, quote, "I found that flogging about for 3 hours in that quagmire was spiritually debilitating and a crazy waste of time. It's strange to me to hear that one of the most tightly constructed movies of all time was described as flogging about. My guess is that Robert needs more explosions and cringe humor in his movies to enjoy them."
Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker.
There was another reviewer who called Brando's performance weak, and I'm not even going to give his name because honestly, I don't want to give him any more recognition than he deserves. And finally, we have Andrew Saris of The Village Voice, who says, quote, "An intellectual's daydream about revenge without remorse and power without accountability."
Take a big step back and literally fuck your own face!
I know I referred to The Godfather as romanticizing the mafia in my review, but I'm pretty sure that all the deaths and near deaths, and significantly Sonny's death, who is of course Vito's son and Michael's brother, would give people who have functioning brains the idea that maybe this life is not without its consequences and regrets. In fact, I actually think The Godfather paints a very clear picture of the darker side of this world. Vito literally has to bury his own son and then see his other son, who he didn't want to have this life, then take over for him. That couldn't be easy on him as a person emotionally.
Fuck me, right?
It sounds to me like this guy clearly just isn't a fan of mafia movies, which is fine. And I would like to say that all of these poor reviews were actually from when the movie came out, and maybe people just didn't have time to understand it yet. But most of them are actually kind of current, which is a little bit concerning. Yes, movies are all subjective, but The Godfather to me is without a doubt and unquestionably the best movie ever made, and to me doesn't deserve any level of criticism at this time given its longevity. So let me know what you thought about all this in the comments down below. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time right here on Real Shift. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Y'all be cool. Right on.